It's warning you. It's a new warning system.
Yeah.
Don't say anything bad. That's what it says. All right. So we get all of our routines, and usually I get up early, workout, and inevitably when people are around, maybe you guys are like this, you get off your sleep schedule too, because everyone wants to stay up late and play games, talk, and like you just do. I never look at that as a bad thing. I look at that as, you know what, we're embracing life, and like I will jump back in after, kind of like jump back on the train. And I think the biggest problem people have is they beat themselves up when that happens.
Yeah.
And there's really no reason. Like that beating up part is all, we do that to ourselves. So that's the number one rule. We will not beat ourselves up for jumping off the wagon. Sometimes we will jump back on the wagon, because the only time and the only way to fail is to give up, right? Because this is a life and it's full of twists and turns and roller coasters and every which thing. So we're going to start just basically with, I'll kind of go through like how I started with the vitamins and how that started. And honestly, I feel like so many people started the same way. Like they didn't really want to start with the vitamins right away. They needed one specific thing. So for me, it was just allergies and like a little bit of headaches and stuff. And, you know, those are the oils I was drawn to in the very beginning. And ultimately, I was still really hesitant with those. And I ended up guinea pigging Neil. Like Neil started to get his sinus infection that he gets twice a year. He used to get it twice a year, antibiotics, then steroids, because nothing worked. And I was like, oh, these people are saying these oils work for this. So let me put this in a shot glass and make you take it. So I totally did. Actually, I actually put it in a veggie capsule. I remember very well. I bought oregano on the outside, and he was like, what are you doing to me? So funny. And I remember being in the kitchen in Tennessee, and so vivid, these memories of using oils for the first time, and thinking they were wackadoo. and now like I'm like, what? They're so amazing. Anyways, so it helped him. Like after just 3 or 4 days, his sinus, the little tickle, the like scratch in his throat went away. And I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this. And like he was like, nah, whatever. But then when it started coming back and he did it again and it never came, he was like, what in the world is this magic? And so as an extension to that, he ended up getting a staph infection in his knuckle, and it was really bad. Antibiotics were not working. And it was the same time, like he was having that sinus infection, he was taking those. And I said, well, let's just put tea tree on it. Let's just see how it works. Don't do anything else. So we just dripped it on every day, like 3 times a day. Gone. It left. And like the doctor had given him all these antibiotics, like 3 different kinds. Nothing was working. He stopped all the antibiotics. He didn't start the next 2 sets, and it was gone. So that was magic. And from that point, he was like, you need to go teach people, right? Because so many like light bulbs were going on. And that's when I was like, you know what? I feel kind of run down and yuck. So why don't I try the vitamins, you know, and it with no other intention of than thinking that there's no way this can work. And but it can't hurt to try. So I was, I guess, on the side of, if there's a scale of people and there's some people within like 2 weeks, they feel amazing, like they're over here on this 10 side. I was more on the other side. It took me probably 2 months to start to feel real big changes, but I was committed, and the pain was gone. The headaches were gone. The stress, like the overall like tension, those little baby headaches were just gone. I was able to stop my allergy shots within 6 months. It was just mind blowing, like how much my body changed. And I can attribute that to nothing else but an understanding of my body after being pregnant for so long. And not everybody is pregnant and deals with that, but inevitably a period of life goes by where we neglect our body. We don't feed it the right nutrition. We don't take care of it. We don't sleep enough. We don't drink enough water. We just really neglect ourselves. And so enter doTERRA, enter an awareness, like waking back up to what our body needs. And then we put in the vitamins, in that baseline, that foundation was so depleted. It just became like, bam, you wake up, because you now have your energy, your little neurons are firing, your cells are talking again, when they had been like lolling in the corner, like the wallflower in the corner, because they didn't have any words, you know. And so once they got all the nutrients back, they were able to talk. And that's was like life coming back to life. And that's the term I hear all the time: I got my life back. I got my life back. And what a beautiful thing to hear over and over and over again. And some of you, like, I know Judy knows, like, I'm on this journey of seeing what else I want to do with life. And literally, I have enough, that my last appointment is Wednesday, is to talk about compensation with Edward Jones. And doesn't mean my doTERRA life is over, because it literally brought back my life. Like, God brought it in my life to bring me back to life. And it's just like a next stage of what God has in store for me. So it's super exciting. But it all started with those little awakenings, right? And so when let's talk about the vitamins and the supplements, because I know many of you know there's so many, right? There's like 25 or 30 different supplements that doTERRA offers. And if we boil it all down, we start with Lifelong Vitality. That's the base, and that's the fish oils, like the omegas that our body is missing from our diet, the vitamins and minerals, just high quality that your body recognizes as vitamin and minerals. And then your what I call the powerhouse is Alpha CRS Plus. Alpha CRS Plus is where I feel like most people are struggling, and this is where the kicker that comes in and knocks the things out. So our bodies are so run down, they forget to knock out the old cells, and those cells build up. And when those old cells build up, and that causes the fatigue and the aches in the joints and the pain and the frustration, emotional distress, because it's called free radicals. And those just bounce all around and cause wreak the havoc, right? And Alpha CRS Plus comes in and says, hey, cells, remember, you have a job, and then you die off and you let the new army come in. And so that's what it does. It just resets and tells your cells, do your cycle, die off, and come back and let the next wave of the army come in. And once your cells are doing that on a nice prolific level, they're continually renewing. Enter frankincense, right? You're helping your body to renew continually. Then you have that baseline built up. And so sometimes that's all people need. That's all they need for energy, for emotional stability, for incredible just energy support in general, even hormone regulation. Christy, I'll answer your question in just a second. And then comes what? Oh, well, my shoulder still hurts, or, you know what, I hurt my knee and I have some other issues going on, right? And so enter Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex. So if you're struggling still with pain, like Neil, in his back pain, he has chronic back pain, he takes the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex, and he uses that instead of ibuprofen. And not only is the pain gone, but guess what? All the digestive issues he is having, and the pain in his stomach and the acid, gone, because he's no longer swallowing bottles of ibuprofen or bottles of Motrin for the pain. And so once you bring something natural in, you're doing so many things, because all of the things we were doing are compounding the issue. And once we free out all of the things we're not supposed to do, our body is able to work the way it's supposed to. Alpha CRS Plus is not the vitamin. That is Microplex VMZ, vitamins and minerals. And then Alpha CRS Plus is just, I always think alpha, omega, like alphas is the big daddy, omegas is like the fatty acids and the different things that our joints need. And then the middle one is Microplex VMZ. So I always think vitamins, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So there are so many different supplements that we can go into. And so I'm only going to kind of branch out, and with the understanding that everybody has their storm, right? I wrote a post about that with our chickens, but everybody has their storm, and someone's might be pain, and someone's, like mine, is more like digestive issues or even migraines. And some people will have like depression, and it just depends on what your specific storm is. Like, autoimmune disease. Like this all goes into here because what is autoimmune? Like 80% of our population now suffers from some type or some level of autoimmune. But really, what is that? It's our body reacting in an inappropriate way. That's all it is. It's our body's response to something is inappropriate. And so what does that mean? Not enough nutrients, too many meds might be causing issues, too much inflammation from our environmental toxins coming in. There's so many different things that can cause. Not enough hydration is key. I cannot tell you how many people I have met that said they had not drank water in 5 years, like literally. Coffee, tea, Dr. Pepper, and juice. Like those are their drinks, right? Those are like the top 4 that I hear all the time. And they're like, well, if that counts, doesn't it? That's still water. I'm like, no. Yeah, that's not even count as water at all, really, according to a doctor. So I'm not going to go into like detail of every single one of those little storms because I don't feel like I need to. Like we can spend days on those. But what I'll say is typically as a woman, you guys are ladies, we come into something and our mind is typically on someone else. Like we want to heal and protect and fix someone else. And then we go through life with like a little bit of a headache, a little bit of joint pain, a little bit of stomach pain, all the little things that weigh down on us. That it becomes super wearing on our body. And how many of you have ever heard of stress tabs? Have you ever heard of this? You can get them at the store and they're like stress tabs, and it's like if your body's under a lot of stress, you take these capsules and it like gives you back your nutrients that your body depleted. I remember seeing commercials for that, and I always remember this when I think of when I do a class and the people come and I say, let's breathe in. I like to use lavender in the beginning of a class sometimes, especially with ladies and it's later in the afternoon. I'm like, just put this drop of lavender in your hand. Let's breathe it in. And they're going to close their eyes. They're going to breathe it in super deep. And we're going to go through a 10 steps of breathe it in and let it out while I'm talking. And I'm like walking them through, walking on the beach and feeling the sand or whatever. And then they open their eyes and I say, when's the last time you took 30 seconds to breathe? And they're like, never. Like they can't even remember a time that they stopped in their day or in their week or in their month that they stopped to just either focused prayer or focused calmness or focused breathing. And the surmounting stress that our days give us, whether it's good or bad, weighs on us. And those little tiny things that we just deal with as women, we typically just deal with it. We're helping somebody else. Then we start to realize if we help ourselves with oils, like a little bit here and there, it's like chipping off the shoulder. Like we're taking little chips off of the weight. And eventually we start to be awakened and then we realize what we need deep inside. And then you start to recognize, oh, there are solutions. And I can hone in on one specific thing. So it usually takes some time to get to that. Chrissy, have you felt that way? Like it kind of took time to get there? Yeah. What was your main thing that you dealt with?
Well, my brain injury, it's hard to shut my brain down. So yes, meditation and prayer at night, serenity, and yeah, the breathing that the therapy taught me, but yeah, definitely the prayer and the serenity.
I know I love that. Everyone should have their own prayer oil. Like what oil is your go-to for quiet time, for prayer time? And mine was always neroli forever. Neroli. And I know I hear serenity constantly. Like, sorry, there's like a guy out there with exterminating my house. There's so many bugs here. Anyways, it is it is very much like people have their specific oil. And I'm going to tell you, I just said this on the live, but vanilla and Roman chamomile, I cannot express, like, I don't even want to stop breathing it. Do you have your vanilla right there? I did this to sleep the other night. And I was just really kind of stressed out, and was like, oh, in the baby lotion, it's vanilla, Roman chamomile, and lavender. And I didn't have my lavender in here because Jackson always steals it. And I was like, I'm just going to put these in it. And then I was like, oh my goodness. It was so chill. I felt so good, and it smells amazing. And I'm like, I'm going to make a perfume of that in like a spritz and be like on me all day. And I usually have neroli on, like that's my oil. I love it. I put it on even before deodorant because I just want to like lather myself in it. And I put it in my palm, and that's when I take my minutes to breathe and pray. Put your hands there and breathe it in. And like, you can really, it's like, this is off tangent. I know we're getting off tangent, but this is so important to pay attention to quieting your mind. When I'm doing prayer, I always liken it to like Jackson trying to do his schoolwork, but he needs music on. He needs something that's like occupying a space in his mind to make that part stop talking so that he can hone in on something, right? And I'm like, really? Like, I cannot listen to music and read. Like, I cannot do that. And he's like zooming through his math and zooming through everything. And he has the earbud in, and he's like, Mom, I cannot think without it. You know, it's so funny to see that. But with oils, it blocks that same pathway and makes the mind stop talking so that you can start talking, right? So you can start praying. So it occupies. The same thing with the whole idea with the fidget spinners and the fidget toys for kids and the bouncing ball and the seats, because kids naturally move, right? And all, like, it is widespread, like, known, like, kids are bad if they move too much in class. And I'm like, my kids never stop moving. My kids are going to be kicked out of school. Like, that's how they're going to be kicked out, because they don't even know how to be quiet for 2 minutes, let alone be still. And so they introduce all these things that stimulate them. And I will say, and maybe you guys have done this, like when you're listening to someone, if you're writing, you hear better. Do you guys do that? Like if you're taking notes, you hear better. Or if you're doodling, you hear better. That is a very, very common. It's actually the number one reported way that students do better. Like computers, they have done so many studies, and the kids who take notes on computers do not score as well as students who actually write it down. And there's just a pathway. It's like the texture of what your body is doing, something, your hand is doing something while you're listening, and your brain is made a certain way, and God did it that way, and we get away from that with screens and stuff. So taking the time to pay attention to all those little things, right? All right, so yeah, go ahead.
Quick question. That was vanilla, Roman chamomile, and lavender?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, like equal parts?
Probably.
Kind of?
You probably need less lavender and Roman chamomile because they're so potent. So like you could do, are you doing a diffuser?
What, diffuser, roller?
Yeah, I'm going to have to play around with it and do this a bunch of times, but I think it's going to be preference. Like you might love a lot of vanilla, and I'm like a little vanilla, right? So it just depends.
Okay.
Yeah. So such a good, that'll be a great roller. All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So that's what I have today. We like to keep it super short. We knew that. Getting back in our routines, getting those vitamins, that foundation built, and then honing in on what we need specifically. And I know for Judy, her heart health was key. And I think you really got that pinned down. And so that's exciting. And then you can start working on others.
Yeah, I am.
I know. I can't help it either. I'm like, just lay down. I'm going to do the oils on you right now.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm going to stop the recording.